Well, here we are with the SAAB engine. Some might suggest that I'm imitating other people on the internet, on YouTube, taking apart broken or worn out engines. So it might be. Anyway, I have this engine that's been taking up space in my workshop for a while, and it has okay compression, but I've been told it uses oil. It is a B205 SAAB engine. This particular one is supposed to be B205R, which means it's the aero engine, but there is no real difference, this year at least, between the B205E, that's the regular 150, 175, 190, 210 version. All those come with the same turbo. The GT17 up to 210 horsepower, and those above that get the TD04 HL 15G, I believe, and then newer versions have bigger turbos even. It's 2 liters, 16 valve. It's a low friction engine. It's a less desirable engine if you ask me. The 204, the previous generation, has sturdier pistons with better rings. These have what do you call it? An oil sludge problem if they're not driven regularly, and they really need a little bit tighter oil change intervals. Anyway, we're going to take it apart, see what it's wrong, what we can find that's wrong with it. It might just be valve guides and valve seals, but we're going to look into it. It turns over. I can even turn it over by hand on the balancer. You can see that that's not in the frame. Anyway, we're going to start with removing the fuel ray. Somebody used to plenty of ooga put that in there. I think those threads are not all that great. This is just a bracket for, let me see, there are things in the way. I guess I need to get another ratchet to take care of that. That was a 10 millimeter. While I try to figure out how to get that in the middle there that removes this silly bracket, I'm going to try to remove the dipstick. It's a 10 millimeter here. Let's see if I can get the right socket on my machine. Make it a little bit easier. Just barely fit there. Is there anything else holding this? There's another one. Extension. Lots better. Is there one more? Of course there's one more. What did you think? And I'm not getting to it here. Not as long as this bracket is here. Bloody brackets. That really feels like a really small bolt. Maybe it is. Yes, it is. It's a 10 millimeter. There we go. Put that to the side. Box down there for parts. And that gets us to this bolt there for the dipstick, and then we might have a chance on the fuel rail. I'm actually going to leave the plugs in until at the reason to really take them out, because I know there won't be any piston plug interference in this engine. Let's see, where's the next one? That's the one. I don't have great lighting in here. Pretty short. Whoa! There we go. And we have one on the floor. I'll need some call it blue, but mine is black. My black has siblings. So let's see which to choose here. I think we go with that. Bigger is better in some cases, and this is one of them. There's one left in there. There we go. That to the side. I'll try to clean these up later. Yep. And what about the dipstick? Why don't you want to get out of there? Oh, it's been a while since I took one of these apart. I have to admit. Well, the top part came out at least. That takes us to the intake manifold. Yeah. And time to replace the battery. It is Friday after all. Let me see. Where are my things? There are, of course, 13. Swedish-made engines use a lot of 13s, both Volvo and Saab. No problemo. Then let's see, no, we won't get in there all that easily. Let's see if we can get in there at all. Maybe, yeah. What about this one? No, I think I need an extension. Can we get a grip on this? Yeah. There we go. Could we get? We might be able to get that from the top. Why didn't I try that? Why didn't you tell me to try that? Let's see, we have one there for this bracket. Is that a 13? Yes, it is. Now the intake should come off. Oh, yeah, of course, there's a bracket as well. Is that a 17? No, that's a 13. Many say that Saabs are in some ways over-engineered, meaning the other end it is down there, you know. There we have it. Looks very clean. Gasket is good still. It's a bit brittle. It would be replaced anyway, so never mind. Goes into the box with the rest of the stuff. I'm going to take my cell phone home here and video lights on. No. See, the intake ports look very clean, all of them. As you can see, that's the thing with port injection. No damage here. We can be clear about that. This engine isn't damaged really. It's basically just, how do we say it? A bit worn or abused, I'm not sure. Anyway, let's get this bracket off. Bracket. Oh, sorry, it's Friday. On Friday, there's beer. So, as you can see, there's been a few other things already removed here. I'm not going to take off the water neck with thermostat housing, but maybe I should remove the starter. But first, this thing, the oil trap. Sort of one of the weak links on this this model of engine. This thing is what collects all the oil fumes or oil fog that is made in the crank house, especially on the boost, and therefore it's supposed to be collected in there and dribble down back into the crankcase. And part of it is not going to do that, and that's why I have. That was the wrong thing to say. The reason you have crank house ventilation is that you don't want there to be pressure built up in the crank house to push out the seals, or in older engines you vented it out to air, to atmosphere, and that causes emissions. It's better to circulate them back into the intake. Now those hoses that do that, they usually sit here. There's one that goes to the intake and another one that goes to the the intake pipe before the turbo, and there's sort of different compartments in there that takes care of whatever side it's on. You know what? I think everybody's curious to see what is hiding under the lid, or the head. We can start with the valve cover. It's held on with Torx bits, Torx screws, that is. Can sort of see that either this engine is running a bit rich or it has been burning oil. I would say that later. And you can see that the gas has been leaking quite a bit as well. You lose boost that way. You don't want that. Nothing damaged. Anyway, so onto the valve cover. And I'm just going to bust these out quickly. Doesn't need to be in any particular order. I'll go outside and then inside, usually. This is a valve cover quite prone to leak. And you usually have to replace the valve cover gasket at least every 7 to 10 years, depending on how much you drive the car. Maybe some of you have noticed that there is something missing on this engine. It's the ignition cassette. Simply the ignition coils. And it didn't come with the engine, but I have plenty of those, so it didn't matter. I got this engine for free, so beggars can't really be choosers. Let's see if there is any nice place to pry. I think these Saab engines are notoriously shitty for that. Alright, at least they usually come up pretty easily. There's quite a bit of varnish in here. I don't think this engine was taken care of very well, to be honest. It was a teenager's daily, his first car. But let's get the light and the camera. You can see there's quite a bit of varnish in here, long oil change intervals, and I believe this was a teenager's first car, so yeah, what can you expect? But anyway, you don't have to remove the camshafts to get this head off, but you have to remove the timing chain. So what we're going to do next is remove these sprockets. And so I can see the sprockets are not very worn. They'll be just fine with the new chain, new guides. And we're going to look at the guides once we get there as well. Let's see, can we get some light on that? Yeah, we can't see much from up here, but the sprockets at least look good. What is the right procedure for removing the chain and the sprockets, etc.? First of all, you need to get the tensioner out. That's the whole thing. And I believe that is 13 as well. No, it is, but tensioner wasn't in there very tightly, you see. Now I did it completely wrong, because you're supposed to sort of letting this screw off to release the tension on the chain tensioner. But anyway, this was almost all the way out, and as you see, once I got the tensioner out, the chain is relaxed. So let's try to remember what size these are. Well, you're supposed to hold on to the camshaft with the I think it's number 19. I could be wrong. Let me see. I have a 17 there, which might be the one, but I don't think it is. No, it's a 19. But I'm going to do it with the good old rattle gun, and they come out fairly easy. The torque to get these seated is set, if you want, is just like 25 or 30 Newton meters. It's not a lot of force. Now we're just going to try to walk these off the cam. See what we can do here. Oh, that one was loose already. We can get it out. And then I think this will come off as well. Yeah. I don't think there's actually all that much wrong with the chain either, this engine. You sort of get the feeling how much you can twist it. There's always a little bit from the beginning, but yeah. So once again, so let's see how hard these are to get off. Oh, not terribly. No sound. I don't think this head has been off before. Well, there we have it. It's I have excellent eyesight. No, not really. That's the right one anyway. And it's the Torx. Better fit. it's I mean, considering how easy it was to get them off with number 13, says a little bit about they're not all that tight. That's it. I'm gonna get the rattle gun. The magnet is AWOL, so we use these tongs here, needle nose pliers. These bolts are stretched to yield, so you're not supposed to reuse them, even though I've heard quite a few people do just that without trouble. And now the head should come off without trouble. No? What have I missed? Oh yeah, there are some 13s over here. Are they 13s? That's not. This socket is 14. Well, that signs the charm. Let's see. Let's look at these combustion chambers. You can see that there are quite a bit of carbon, especially in number 4 and in number 1, and it's a little tiny bit wet. So I guess there was oil coming into the cylinders. This is not as wet. It's very, very, very large amounts of carbon around the valves, especially the exhaust valves. I don't see that there should be anything bad with the valves themselves. They're just dirty. So I think it's going to clean up well. I'm going to take this head apart later on, so we can look at the valves and, yeah, how much wear there is, and what about the seats. At the kind of power levels we're going to run on a head like this, there's not much point doing advanced angles valve job, and especially when having boost, the difference is actually quite a bit less than with a natural aspirator engine, since the turbo is going to force the air into the cylinders no matter what, pretty much. It has more to do with lift and other sort of restrictions. Valve size, of course. But of course, it always helps to have good valve angles. And as you probably can see, you can get a little bit bigger exhaust valves in here, but not really bigger intake valves. The combustion chamber is simply just too small. So what you need to do is get more lift and more boost. But even though the absolutely tiny intake ports, they actually accept a lot of air in. Even that the angles of the in here aren't all that fantastic. They simply just work. And yeah, Saabs, you know, turbo for many years, they learned their lesson. Well, this head gasket is something else. It was on there. It's a multi-layer metal gasket, multi-layer steel gasket to be correct, and the number one separated. I don't know if it's about carbon or if it's been hot or whatever. Anyway, there aren't really any signs that anything has been breached, as far as I can tell. It's a little bit over there, but no, I think those bulges are from removing the gaskets, because the other side doesn't show any signs. So I think that was not the problem. And let us look into the cylinders. Move the camera over here soon. I can definitely see cross-hatching still. A bit more wear over on this side, but I'm going to bring you in here. You can see this cylinder is a little bit wet probably from oil. Let's see if you can position that a little bit better so it doesn't shine into the camera itself. You see the pistons are actually pretty flat, and if we move over here, you can see that there's quite a bit of cross-hatching left, and there's not really any scoring. So I'd say this engine is probably good with just a quick hone. What do you say? That's what I would think anyway. Yeah. Let's see if there's any. No, there's no ridge. So yeah, there's a tiny bit, but it's not worse than, and it's just on that side. Now I can't really feel it anymore. It wasn't much. I said 1 or 2 hundredths of a millimeter. These engines are actually really sturdy if you take care of them. You see there's quite a bit of metal between the cylinders. They don't like they don't like a stellar amount of revs, but at least they don't easily fall apart. Let's look at the guides. They have a bit of wear on them, that's for sure, but nothing coming apart. Of course, before putting anything like this together again, we're gonna, of course, have new guides. So the next step now is, of course, getting the transmission cover off. The valve, what do you call it? Valve chain cover. Anyway, let's see if there's any oil in. I think it should be drained, but you can never be sure. I actually think I drained it at some point, just to make sure. So there shouldn't really be anything in here. Well, quite dry, if you ask me. This one uses the copper washer. Put that back. We don't lose it. You don't replace the plug. You just replace the copper crush washer. That really doesn't need to be crushed a lot. So, as I said, next project is to, and I'm going to try to rotate this just a little bit, or we put it, you know what, let's put it closer to the wall, like that, and then move the camera. So let's see, first order should be to remove the crankshaft bolt. I think it's been off, just a guess. Let's see, just put it up there with a bit of a black companion. Let's see, one of the smaller ones comes up like a charm. It's a dampened. Nothing particularly exciting about this. Let's put that down there as well. Or maybe let's put it in there if we need it later. And of course, the crank is keyed on these engines. I mean, it's a European engine. Nothing much else to expect, if you ask me. This is stupid. Such a long extension for nothing. And we have, I think, at least two. Number 13 down here. Well, that seems bigger. What is that? Let's find out. Could it be a Torx as well? There's a hole in it. I think it's missing. Ooh, there's another one. It seems to be simply missing. Let's try to get this off. Which one? That is. Is there another Torx? No, that's not a bolt. Nothing from that side. So why is this? Why is this still on here, up here? I don't know. Weird, if you ask me. It's off in the bottom here. Shouldn't really be anything up here. Yeah, it's just a dowel. Well, it feels like there's something keeping it on. Ah, no, there we go. Now we have it. That one was actually in the way. I guess we have to remove it. That's all grumpy. I apologize for my bad Danish. The language, that is. No, we've been teasing each other. Oh, that's dirty. Oh, not exactly the cleanest inside of an engine I have ever seen. Well, here we have two sets of chains. We have the cam chain, that's the one up there, and this is the balance shaft chain. And it is actually more likely to fail than the actual cam chain. We're going to start with removing the tensioner for the balance shaft chain. These are 10s. I doubt they're going to fly across the shop. It's not that much tension. No, it just relaxed. These are reusable, so don't throw them away. And they're actually hard to get new as well. I'm going to move this chain guide. Whoopsie daisy. There we go. Before anyone says something about the chain guides, I know they are not beautiful. And is that not a 10? That is not a 10. So now the question is, can we get this chain off? Nah, doesn't seem like it. These are at least, anyway, the balance shafts, 1 and 2. And it's pretty popular to remove those. There's still a little bit of energy. Oh, it's not even screwed on, it was just a dowel. Even better. So now let's get that guide off. It is pretty dirty in here. I tell you, it hasn't been my engine, that's for sure. Teenagers. Many of them treat everything as consumables, which is pretty sad if you ask me. Let's see if we can get, no, we can't get that out. Oh, the balance shaft chain might get off like this. No, still embossed. On this little sprocket then, but I want to get this mother of all cheeses off. The mother of all cheeses. Does cheese have a mother? Who knows? Anyway, even though these engines tend to be less fail prone if you, especially when driven hard, or less fail prone if you remove the balance shaft, I don't believe the balance shaft itself is really a problem. Most owners, it was the early short blocks, so to say, and short it's in the length of the engine. The long block was the engine that was pretty much the old 8 valve unmodified. So yeah, maybe can we get this off now? Or do we need to remove all of these sprockets to get this apart? That's a 13 for sure. Yeah, that's a 13. Let me try that without the extension. We'll treat you to some August and hope everything is fine. This engine isn't worth all that much if you ask me. Yep, there we go. The chain is off and we can put that thing back on there if you want. Where did that not? Oh, it's still in the ratchety rat. See, I think this has moved in a little bit, yeah, more than a little bit. That's where it's supposed to be, and then you pretty much need to fit this thing in there, and then the bolt. Try to get it on there. Violence is sometimes the key, more often than you think. Oh, the chain came off without even bothering. Okay, so you need to remove that thing. Seems like I can't get that thing out there without. Oh, it does come out. No. Never mind. This wasn't necessary. Forget about it. It never happened. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Could it be that you need to get these two bolts off to get the chain out? That's just an intermediate. That is one balance shaft and that is another. There isn't all that much left to do. Get the pan off, get the rods and pistons out, and check the main bearings. I believe that both the rod and the main bearings are probably good, so I think I'm going to keep the main bearings as they are and don't bother with them. Put a little bit of oil in there. Anyway, let's get to it. We have the oil filter housing on this side, and I think we're going to leave it in there for now. And just turn this sucker over. Been sitting in the same position for some time, that's for sure. And you see, even the flywheel is still on. Anyway, let's take a look here and see. It's probably a tiny little bit of oil in it because it came out of the drain plug. But overall, I'd say, yeah, just a few screws holding the pan in. I think it's just 3, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, it was quite empty in there. I actually had this off a few years ago and cleaned it up on the inside because there was a lot of sludge and shit in there. And I'm going to show you what the bottom end looks like here. Just a moment. Oh, I think I didn't show you. I didn't show you where the oil pump is. It's in here. We're not going to take that apart right now, but I'm going to do it a later time. See, and it's on there with a big old. So, but before we do any of that, I'm going to take off the oil pump. Sorry, the oil filter. That was the wrong way. First. Good thing we don't have aluminium bolt or something silly like that. And here you can see that the oil that was in here was quite dirty. I think this is going to drain in here for a little bit. Yeah. And then we can get this pipe out. As black as my soul. Oh yeah, it's dripping here. Good thing we're not too worried about that. And you can see it's been leaking around the gasket here. Oh yeah, they're 11s. So we'll put my ratchet. There we go. I do not think these will be on there very tight. I'm talking down with something like Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, these were actually tighter than the head bolts. And we do this as well. And we turn it over so we get to these. These bolts are supposed to be reusable, so that's what we will do later on. Oh, these pistons come out easy. It seems like. Oh. It's not one of the bolts of this protesting there. Oh, there goes the bolt. It's on the floor. Boring. The bearing is still on the crank, I believe. Over there. Let's get the piston. Oh yeah, now I know what it's been burning. Oil. The oil rings are absolutely stuck. Jesus. Here we have the bearing shell. Let me wipe it off and we look at it. Looks actually pretty okay. Tiny bit of wear. Not gone through the coating or anything like that. Let's get the other half. And we that is, of course, also good, since pretty much all the forcing is on the upper half. It's actually good to see that it's sort of obvious what the problem was with this engine, why it was smoking. The common low friction problem that so many engines have today. And you, buddy, you go back in here. Let me see that direction. The little indentations here in the bearing. And I guess this looks just fine. A little bit of wear. I'm gonna get new bearings anyway. And of course, rings are stuck. Or that, yeah. There's a tiny bit of wear, you know, cold starts and things like that, but nothing bad. And these are actually cracked rod ends, so they just fit together one way. And as far as I can tell, crank looks excellent. See, nothing any finger can catch anything on. Same here, I guess. No, like new. And over there as well. So now we're going to take a look at the main bearings. And I think I'm going to do the middle and the thrust bearing. I believe this is the thrust bearing. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, then it's that one. That's the thrust bearing. Oh yeah. Looking down in here, you'll see this is a dark place. There's quite a lot of dirt. Crusty old oil remains. But the journals look excellent, not a scratch. As the pistons, they were also excellent. So now what's left to do is to check out two of the main bearings, one of the regular ones and the thrust bearings. But I doubt there would be any trouble here. Maybe I just do this, since the thrust bearing is a bit fiddly to get to without taking out the crank. Yep. I guess these gonna be quite tight, if I may guess. Not that bad. Here is the bottom side that should tell us the condition of things. And look at that. That's nice. They're actually really good. We don't need to change these for an everyday engine. Whoops. That fell out. Pretty quickly. But I haven't decided yet. Maybe I put new bearings in. Maybe I don't. It's going to come up with a budget for this. And whoopsie daisy. And yeah, we see 2, 3, 4. So that's the orientation. The dimple with the number on to the oil filter side of the engine. I'm gonna just snug them in here with my hands, and when it's time for reassembly, no matter if there will be new bearings or not, they're gonna be assembly grease. We'll see. With new rings at least, new gaskets, and maybe new bearings. We'll see. It depends on who's going to get this engine. If I'm going to keep it for myself, which I don't think, or if I'm going to sell it.